Welcome back everyone. In today's video we're going to be setting up our virtual environment using VirtualBox and Ubuntu. VirtualBox is a program that's going to let us create a virtual machine. We're going to be using a Linux-based operating system called Ubuntu, which is very common in the field of development. By doing this, it's going to ensure that we're all on the same page, we're all working in the same environment, and that if anything breaks, it's not going to affect our host computer. Okay? We can always back up this environment and just delete it if we need to. Okay, it's also going to give you some hands-on experience with the Linux distribution and some industry standard tools. Okay, so let's just jump right in. The first thing we're going to need to do is go to our web browser. We're going to go to virtualbox.org. Okay, you'll see this big download VirtualBox button here. Click that. If you're on a Windows host, click Windows. If you're on a Mac, click Mac hosts. I'm on a Windows, so I'm going to go with Windows, and this download is going to start. While that's going, we can come to ubuntu.com. Okay, this is going to be our operating system. We're going to go to the download drop-down and click this 22.0.4. Okay, in a second, this download will start. This one may take a minute or two, so just to save time, I've went ahead and downloaded this ahead of time. I'm going to go ahead and just clear those out, exit out of my browser. And once your downloads are done, you're going to open your file browser, go to your downloads folder, and you'll see the two files we just downloaded. Okay, we're going to double click this Oracle VirtualBox installer, hit next. We can leave all the default settings, so hit next, yes, and then install. Now this won't take very long. Once it's done, we're going to go ahead and click Start Oracle VM VirtualBox after the installation, click Finish, and we can exit out of our file browser. Okay, from here you can see I already have one virtual machine started. I wanted to go ahead and do this ahead of time so that if I ran into any snags, you guys didn't have to sit there and watch me try to figure it out. Okay, first thing we're going to do is click New. Okay, we're going to give this a name. So how about we just call this YouTube virtual machine. Okay, you should keep this all one word and use a lowercase letter at first, or you may run into some errors. Down under this ISO image, this is going to be that Ubuntu image that we just downloaded. Okay, so select Other, and you can see mine's already in my downloads folder right here, Ubuntu, and double click that. Okay, after that we can hit Next. This will tell us we have to supply a username. I'm going to go ahead and just change this to YouTube VM. Okay, and you can see that it already set the password to change me. We should change this. I'm not going to, just for the sake of example. Host name, domain name, you can leave all the same. Make sure you check this guest editions. This is important if we want to make our operating system full screened. Okay, we hit Next. Now we're going to be able to tell VirtualBox how much memory we want to give this virtual machine. In our case, we're just going to leave this default. With the hard drive, I'm going to bump this up to 256 gigs, just because I have the room. If you don't, it's no big deal. I would recommend you give it at least around 16 to 18, maybe a little more if you want to. I'm just going to make mine big enough because I have the room. Okay, so we're going to hit Next and click Finish. Now this virtual machine is going to spin up and it's going to start installing automatically. These are just little messages that you can exit out of, and if you don't click anything, it's going to start the install. Okay, this is going to take a while. Okay, probably about a half an hour in most cases, maybe a little longer, maybe a little less, depending on your computer. To save time, I'm going to go ahead and stop the video here. With the power of editing, in a few seconds, you're going to see this all finished up. So pause the video until yours is all done, and I'll see you when you get back. Okay, and as you can see, now we're done. Hopefully you're on this page as well with your name showing right here. So I'm going to click my name to sign in and give it the password change me. So that took about 45 minutes. I'll go ahead and enlarge this and see that we're not in full screen, and we're going to be fixing that here in just a moment. Here for the time, our virtual machine is set up. Okay, we're going to be signing in now, and then there's a couple things that we need to do to configure this so that we can use it for what we want to use it for. Okay, and it looks like it's already full screen for me. Now, that may not be the case for you. I'll show you what you need to do in case yours does not go full screen. I know that can be kind of a pain. But first things first, we're going to skip through this. We're going to next, next, and next, and done. Okay, that's just their little setup. Feel free to read through that if you want to. But the first thing that we need to do is to give this account that we're on access or root privileges. Okay, by default, the root account is a separate account from the account that you've just created. It's never a good idea on Linux distributions to use the root account. Okay, but what we can do is to give our user root privileges. Okay, so to do that, we're going to click Control Alt and T to bring up the terminal. Okay. Alternatively, you can click these little dots down here, and you got terminal right here. You can search for it, or just click terminal. Okay. This is our command line interface. Now this might be intimidating at first, but trust me, it's not as hard as it seems. Okay, you're going to get used to this over time, and there's not really a whole lot that you need to know about this, you know, to get a lot of work done really efficiently. Okay, so the first thing that we need to do is to access the root account. To do that, we're going to type su root, okay, and then we're going to give our password. You can see nothing showed up when I typed that password. That's just a security feature. Okay, so your characters won't show up, but they will be entered. Okay, now you can see we're root. Okay, and now what we need to do is we need to add user. Our username is YouTube VM. Okay, and we're going to give sudo. Oh, I spelled that wrong. YouTube VM, and then sudo. Okay, sudo is a synonym for root, pretty much. We're going to hit enter, and you can see it added our user to the group sudo. Okay, and then we can just exit out of the root account. That's it. So now let's just make sure that we have sudo privileges by running sudo and then any command that requires sudo privileges. In this case, we're just going to cat out a file as etc shadow. And then we're going to be asked for a password. And it says we are not in the sudoers file. Okay, so what we need to do is just reboot this VM and we should be all set. This is of course going to take a few minutes. It may not take as long for you. I'm actually running this VirtualBox inside of a virtual machine, and that is a little mind-bending, but so we're going to log back in. And I'm just going to give it a minute. Again, this might not take as long on your end as it is for me. Once we're booted back up, we're going to be opening the terminal again. You'll get very familiar with the terminal, don't worry. Okay, again, shortcut to access the terminal, Control, Alt, and T. If you press all of those at the same time, your terminal window is going to pop up. Okay, and now you see we have this message up here. To run a command as administrator, use root. Use sudo followed by the command. Okay, so we're going to say sudo and then run a command. we're going to cat out the etc shadow file. This is a file that's only accessible to the root user. So by using sudo, we're saying we are the root user. And it's going to prompt us for a password. We're going to type in our password, and we can see now we have access to this file. Okay? This is all the users of our machine. You can see we're right here, YouTube VM. This is our password hash. Okay? So that's all we needed to do to set up the root privileges. We're going to exit out. And now what we need to do, if you're not in full screen, you need to go to this Devices tab up here, okay, and insert Guest Editions CD image. Okay. Now that may or may not auto run. I would give it just a couple seconds to see if it did or not. You can see I got ran software up there. So what this is going to do is probably open up a terminal. A bunch of software has been issued since. Do you want to install it now? Yes, install now. Okay, this is going to install some stuff that's going to ensure that we can get our machine into full screen. Okay. After this is all done, you may or may not need to reboot your machine. In my case, I'm already full screen, so I'm not too worried about it. In the meantime, we're just going to let this download. I may cut out this part of the video just to save some time. Alright, now you can see this is finally finished. That took about 15 minutes. And we got this prompt that says the computer needs to restart to finish the update. So let's go ahead and restart now. Once this boots back up and we log in, if you weren't full screen before, you should be full screen now. If that's not the case, please post something down in the comments and I'll see if I can help you get it all set up the right way. Maybe we might need to make another video on if there's some issues. But I think you should be good at this point. So I don't know if you saw, but we also, with that installation, it downloaded a lot of common stuff that we might need. Along with that is some stuff for the C programming language and Python programming language that we're going to be touching on. Okay, I'm going to log in. Okay, now that we're logged back in, we're going to go back into the terminal. We're going to run 2 commands just to make sure that we have the right software that we need. We're going to say gcc space dash dash version. Okay. As long as you don't get an error here, then we have the right software. Okay. Next command, we're going to say python 3 dash dash version. Okay, and as long as it says Python and a version number right here, we're good to go. Okay, so we can exit out of that. Next, we're going to go to this Ubuntu software tab. Okay, this is going to give us access to a bunch of different software, and all we need now is our text editor. In our case, we're going to go with Virtual Studio Code, which is a very common text editor used by a lot of professional developers. Okay, so once this loads up, and it seems like it's taken a little while on my end. Okay, all we're going to have to do is search for VS Code and then click install. And it's going to take care of the rest for us. Once that's installed, we'll make a shortcut, we'll load it up, and that's going to be it. Okay, I'll click this magnifying glass up here. We're going to say VS Code. It's going to search for apps. It's this top one. And click install. It's going to ask for our password. and we're installing. Okay, pretty simple install. Once this is done, we can exit out of this. Okay, if we ever want to delete this, all we gotta do is hit the trash can. Okay, we're not gonna do that. Next, we're gonna go down to Show Applications, and it should be at the very end. If you scroll down, you see Visual Studio Code. Let's go ahead and click that and open it up. Again, it may take a moment the first time you open this up. Okay, and this is Virtual Studio Code. We can exit out of that Get Starting tab, and then right over here we can click to add a file, or to open our File Explorer, and you can see we can open a folder in here, pretty much anything we want. What we're going to be using this for is to be writing our code in here. Okay, we can write our code in here, we can run our code in here, and we can see all the folders in our, or all the files in our folders. Okay, so for the meantime, I'm just going to exit out of this. Last couple touches that I'm going to do, you don't need to do, but it'll make it a little more convenient for you. Okay, these icons over here, we have Firefox, which we will be using quite a bit. We have Thunderbird Mail. We're not going to use that on this, so we can remove that from our favorites. Files we should keep here. Rhythmbox we're not going to use, so we can remove from favorites. LibreOffice Writer we can remove from favorites. This help we can remove from favorites. And the Ubuntu software we're going to want to keep there. Okay, now we just want to add a couple things to this. So we're going to go down here. We're going to right click on Terminal. We're going to click Add to Favorites. We're going to be using that quite a bit. It's going to be nice to have it over there. Okay. I like to add the calculator, add to favorites, because you never know when a calculator is going to come in handy. And then if we scroll over, we're going to right click and add Visual Studio Code to favorites. Okay, so that's it. That's all we're going to do. Okay, so at this point we've set up our virtual environment, we've set up VirtualBox, and we've installed Ubuntu operating system onto it. Okay, we've installed the guest editions, so we have everything that we need to get started programming. Okay, thank you so much for watching the video. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments, and I'll try to get to you as soon as possible. Thank you very much. Okay, I just wanted to touch on one more thing. If when you clicked on devices and insert a guest edition CD, if nothing happened and you didn't get anything installing, what you're going to need to do is open the terminal. Okay, you type cd -media and then your name, YouTube, VM, and then dash. You can type capital V and hit tab, and it's going to autofill. Okay, hit enter, and then we're going to type ls to list out everything in here, and all we're going to need to do is type sudo and then /vbox Linux. We're going to be running this one right here. You can use tab complete if you just type vbox li and then hit tab. It'll complete the rest. When you hit enter, this is going to ask you for your password. Once you enter your password, it's going to run all the files that we just did when that guest editions initially ran. Okay, hopefully you don't have to do this, but I just wanted to put this at the end of the video just in case you do. Alright, and now lastly, one thing I did want to show you is that if you just exit out of this virtual machine, you can save the machine state, or you can just power off the machine. It really doesn't matter much. In our case, we're going to save the machine state. You can see it's saving VM state over here. And now, if you right click on this and you click clone, just click next, full clone. You're going to see we're going to get a clone of this machine. Okay, this is going to act as our backup. So we have a setup machine ready in case anything happens to our virtual machine that we're running now. All we need to do is delete that and we have our clone set up. Okay, so let that go. You'll see another one of these pop up, and just don't touch that one. Leave that as a backup in case anything happens to this one. Alright, thanks so much for watching.